Welcome, students. I am Jimmy Sir, and on behalf of Fulwala Tuitions, I am thrilled to bring you this super detailed, 100% exam-ready, and totally student-friendly explainer for Class 9 Social Science Chapter 4, Early Humans and the Beginning of Civilization. In this Part 1, we're going to step way back into a fascinating ancient world, a time when writing or books simply didn't exist on this earth. We're keeping the speed really balanced and relaxed today so that every single concept locks perfectly into your brain. Crystal clear. So, buckle up. Let's explore the amazing roots of human civilization together.
Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today. We've got 4 foundational concepts to master. 1. A world without writing. 2. Archaeological sources unveiled. 3. Decoding the BC and AD timeline. And 4. The 3 periods of history. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. A world without writing.
All right, I want you to put on your detective hats for a second, because we are basically looking at the ultimate cold case here. Humans have been walking this earth for literally millions of years, right? But the art of writing? That's only about 5,000 years old. So, it brings up a really massive question. How in the world do we study history without any books or written records to guide us? I mean, think about it. If there are no diaries, no ancient textbooks, no letters left behind, how do we actually know what our ancestors were up to? Well, to put this into perspective, just think about the number 99%. For more than 99% of human history, there were absolutely zero written diaries, no manuscripts, no stone inscriptions to tell us what happened. You know, just let that sink in for a second. The entire history that we normally read about in books, the kings, the massive empires, the epic wars, all of that fits into a tiny 1% fraction of human existence. The rest of it, it's just a giant unwritten mystery.
Section 2. Archaeological sources unveiled.
So since we don't have any text for that massive 99% chunk of history, we have to look for physical clues left behind in the dirt. And you'll definitely need to know these 4 major archaeological sources for your exams. First up, we've got fossils. These are the preserved remains of plants, animals, or early humans that actually turned to stone over millions of years. And they're super important because they show us the biological evolution of our ancestors. Second, stone tools. Early humans were total innovators. They made hand axes and choppers to survive, hunt, and cut meat. Third, we have bones. These actually tell us a lot about their diet, down to the marrow they ate for protein. And fourth, pottery and cave paintings. Once humans started farming, they obviously needed pottery to store their surplus food, and they used cave paintings to communicate and express themselves. Every single one of these items tells a really profound story about how they lived and adapted.
Section 3. Decoding the BC and AD timeline.
Now, before we can properly organize all these archaeological clues, we need a map. Honestly, the easiest way to think of the historical timeline is just like a standard mathematical number line. Right in the center, we place year 0, which historians traditionally use to mark the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, if you move to the left, away from 0, you're going backwards in time. We call this BC, which stands for before Christ, or BCE, before Common Era. And just like negative numbers, the numbers get bigger the further back you go. So 2500 BC is way older than 500 BC. But if you move to the right of 0, you're moving forward in time. We call this AD or CE. And yep, we are currently living on this side of the timeline.
Let's make sure we lock in this exam-ready definition. AD stands for Anno Domini. It's a Latin term that literally translates to "in the year of the Lord," and it's used to mark the years after the birth of Jesus Christ. Sometimes you'll see CE used instead, which simply means Common Era. Don't let it confuse you. They mean the exact same thing. Our current year, whether it's 2024, 2025, or beyond, falls right into this AD or CE category.
Section 4. 3 periods of history.
Okay, so historians take all this evidence and categorize the past into 3 very distinct periods based purely on the existence of writing. And hey, understanding this table is a guaranteed point score for your exams for sure. First is the prehistoric period. Are there written records here? Nope, we rely purely on things like Stone Age tools. Next is the Protohistoric period. Here, written records actually do exist, like the Harappan script, but they haven't been deciphered yet. Finally, we have the Historic period. This is where fully deciphered written records exist, perfectly covering the era from roughly 600 BC all the way to today, which gives us clear names, dates, and events.
Let's dive just a little deeper into that protohistoric period, because honestly, it is an absolutely fascinating, unsolved mystery. Think of it as a transition phase. The people living then were advanced enough to develop scripts, like the Indus Valley or Harappan civilization. We've actually found their amazing pictographic scripts carved right onto seals and pottery, which proves they were communicating some pretty complex ideas. But here's the catch. Despite over 100 years of trying, literally no scholar on Earth has been able to decipher or read what those symbols mean. It's like a secret completely locked in time.
Just look at the stark contrast here. On one hand, we have the mysterious, unread Harappan script from the Protohistoric period. It uses these really cool pictures of bulls, buffaloes, and people, written from right to left, but its voice is totally silent to us today. On the other hand, we have the deciphered Ashokan Brahmi script from the Historic period, dating to around 400 BCE. Because we actually cracked the Brahmi code, we know Emperor Ashoka's actual thoughts, his laws, and the messages he carved on massive rocks for the public. And that right there, successfully reading the text, is exactly what shifts us definitively into the Historic period.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? Why are we spending our time studying old rocks and unread languages? Well, it really all comes down to this idea. Every tool, bone, and unread script helps us reconstruct the magnificent story of human evolution. You know, these aren't just dry facts you need to memorize for an exam. They're the foundational building blocks that help us understand our own cultural and biological evolution. They literally show us how we transform from ape-like ancestors trying to survive in the wild into the complex, society-building humans we are today.
Which leaves us with one incredibly provocative question to think about. If tools and bones are our main clues for 99% of our history, who were the very first humans to actually make those weapons and tools? Like, how did they even learn to do it, and what did they look like? That is the ultimate biological mystery, and it's exactly what we are going to uncover in Part 2. So keep this timeline and these categories fresh in your mind, study hard, and I will see you in the next explainer.